Radio during the day, plus Bill O'Reilly and his No Spin News at 6. Your home of the Rocket City Trash Pandas is Talk Radio WZZN. Everything you need is just a click away.
I screw up sometimes, silly.
Okay, almost everything.
Come on, pal. Tell your fortune.
Log on today. 977ESPN.com. 977 ESPN, The Zone. Welcome to the Morning Blitz with John Abraham, Captain Cool, and the Bandiman Bailey Lowery. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Captain Cool.
Hello and welcome in to a Friday here in the No Man's Land. John Abraham, Cap Cool, alongside the Bandiman, Bailey, Lowery, and Bandy. Oh, do we have a lot of fun stuff to get into today, whether we're talking a little bit of Olympics, whether we're talking about the preseason slate we got yesterday. Wonderful to have two games that we can flip-flop back and forth from, and interesting to see some of the young talent that is coming into the NFL, even though, you know, we really came to watch that New York Giants versus the Lions game just to see Malik Neighbors play. And he got 0 receptions. He wasn't even on the field that much.
Heck, he wasn't. They don't play any of these rookies. They don't play any of the frontline guys. Why the hell would you even go?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, if you want to see a guy that was drafted last year, though, that got injured in college, then you get to see him
or
play.
If one of your boys is trying to make it as a free agent or something,
you
know,
go.
or a mid-round pick, maybe you can watch them. But anybody that's going to start or be a prominent role, hell, they don't. It's like what they're saying. I mean, shorten the preseason. These dang games, they don't mean a thing. I used to watch preseason football, but at least then you used to see the starters for a quarter, starters for a couple series, starters for a half. You forget it now. I guess unless it's the last preseason game where they finally give these guys some reps. I mean,
that is usually how it is. You got to wait until the last preseason game, which is going to be the third one, to see some of these actual starters get in. But still, you're not going to see most of them get in. Aaron Rodgers is not going to hop in and play a snap. Josh Allen, not going to hop in and play a snap. You're going to see a lot of the younger guys, a lot of the guys that are, you know, fighting for a position on that roster. But I still enjoy it. You know, it's still enjoyable football compared to the UFL. I think it is better, but I still enjoy the UFL when there's nothing else going on. I know. You're already snoring about that. Drew, it's okay because we'll talk right about some football here in a second for the SEC because we're getting closer and closer to kickoff, and I cannot wait for it. Alabama's been, you know, practicing, and honestly, their team is looking pretty stellar.
I'd rather watch Alabama practice than watch the damn preseason game.
You're not wrong. I'm
hoping to do that Sunday.
Yeah, I've been keeping up with all of the training camp videos. It's a lot of fun to see the players. It's a lot of fun to see the growth within some of these guys. Of course, Jalen Milroe is one of those dudes that I've been looking at to see how his passing game can get. And Drew, I mean, you've been seeing it the same way I have. Of course, we've also got to see Jeremy Bernard in this offense now. It's not full-fledged, but this is a guy that has been with two different schools before, and now he's playing with a guy like Jalen Milroe. What type of connection do you think he's going to be able to gain and achieve with this quarterback?
Well, I mean, it's just we'll see how quickly the chemistry develops. I mean, he had an outstanding 8A game, and he certainly seemed to be acclimating himself quickly. Now he knows the offensive system. I said this morning on Talking Ball that if you look at the three levels of Alabama's offense, they've got three key guys transferred from Washington. Jeremy Bernard, who you just mentioned, John, wide receiver. Josh Cuevas, a tight end who knows how they use the tight ends in that offense. And then Parker Brailsford from as far as at center. And then let's add a fourth, which I didn't talk about this morning, but Ryan Fowler made a great point to say that the physical strides he's made since he transferred in January is he wasn't even 18 years old yet. He basically redshirted at Washington last year after reclassifying. Is Austin Mack. They also have a quarterback. Now, is he going to start this year? He is not. If he does, it's an unmitigated disaster because it means 2 or 3 people got hurt. But again, he's developing as an 18-year-old now at Alabama. I believe he turned 18 in June. So But Austin Mack can also help the quarterbacks, mentally process this offense. So they brought 4 guys at pretty much every key position on offense with them from Washington to help in this transition. Ryan Fowler talked about watching, players coaching other players and how good the chemistry is on the squad. And that's huge. I mean, especially in this transfer portal era where it's so easy for cats just to cut and run and go somewhere else. And it's I think Kalen DeBoer and his staff have done a really good job building a rapport. Certainly they lost some great players. We've talked about it ad nauseum. Caleb Downs should be a great player. I think he just signed another NIL deal with the Sucks over there at Ohio State. So he's going to be very well compensated with a lot of expectation, but he had a hell of a year at Alabama last year. And don't forget, I mean, they've also got former Alabama center Seth McLaughlin on their team that will start in the pivot. And I thought took some undue heat last year. He had snap issues, that's true, but I don't know that all of that was on him. I think he's still a very, very good player. And again, I've said it repeatedly. Ohio State, they're not taking scrubs, man.
No.
Because they're trying to win a national championship. They got Will Howard, who came in from K-State to be the quarterback. Not to mention Julian Sayin, who basically had 4 bowl practices at Alabama and then bailed out because Nick Saban, came in and Nick Saban retired, and then Austin Mack came in with that new staff. But again, I mean, I just think overall Alabama's in a pretty strong spot. Now I'm really anxious to see, what kind of buzz we hear coming out of the weekend for the scrimmage on Saturday, and then hopefully be able to see some firsthand action on Sunday at Fan Day for the open practice. And this is quite a grind for Alabama, John. I mean, I've been on, this is my 3rd day with you. We were on Monday and Wednesday and now Friday. Since Tuesday, Alabama's been going every day. And so that Fan Day practice, whether it's probably going to be more of a scrimmage cleanup, working on things maybe they got to correct. But I'm telling you, wow. I mean, that's 6 days in a row. They're not going to get another complete off day until this coming Monday. So training camp is a grind. There's no doubt about that. And certainly Alabama and Auburn are both in the middle of that grind right now.
No doubt about that. Alabama going to be going all the way to the 21st and on with their training. It's going to be a lot of fun to see this team develop. And the quarterback position is one of those positions that we've seen really the eyes on Jalen Milroe. What behind him intrigues you with Ty Simpson, Dylan Lonergan? Are these guys that you think could lead this offense if some things go a little bit south for this offense?
Well, I mean, the only thing that would remove Milroe from the starting lineup is an injury, in my opinion. He's entrenched there at the quarterback position, and he's earned that. But I do think they're in a much stronger position due to what, this coaching staff and the work they've already done with Ty Simpson, who had a great spring, maybe an even better spring than Milroe. And that's not saying he was going to take Milroe's job. Milroe was not bad by any stretch. It was just Ty was very, very good and started coming into his own.
Exactly.
And iron sharpens iron. So I've said this repeatedly already that it's a long season. They're trying to play 15, 16, 17 games, that if Milroe were to go down, and he was remarkably durable last year, and he took a ton of hits, some of those his own fault because he took too many sacks, but he was a very, besides sitting out the game against USF, and that wasn't due to injury, he was remarkably durable. Now, I do think that if push comes to shove and there was an injury, I think Alabama's much more well equipped with the maturation of Ty Simpson to be able to withstand that. And so you never want to get to your if you get into your 3rd and 4th quarterbacks, then you're like the Atlanta Braves right now. You got nothing. You got you got people calling in wanting to fire Brian Snitker, and it wouldn't matter if freaking Casey Stengel was in the dugout or whoever the hell you wanted. Jim Leland, you can go down the list, Bruce Bochy, all these Hall of Fame managers, Joe Torre, wouldn't damn matter. When you got guys out there hitting 226, the manager can't hit for them. If you have no players, you're not going to win. And right now the Braves have no players. Well, you got to have talent. Alabama has talent. There's no doubt about that. And I think they in certain spots they don't have a ton of depth. Like, for example, offensive tackle. If they got a couple offensive tackles hurt, you might want to start drinking. Because, I mean, I think they've got 3 right now that they're gaining a lot of confidence in. But Miles McVay's a redshirt freshman. He hasn't played at all. Niquel Bertrand, who who transferred from Texas A&M's a developmental player. They don't have a lot of depth at tackle. Now, that's a spot where they need to stay healthy along the offensive line. I think they're starting to develop some depth inside, even at center and the 2 guard spots with this new staff. But the tackle spot, and then on defensively, I think they have talent in the secondary, but a lot of it is inexperience. But so you need your older dudes. And in my opinion, the Malachi Moores, the Sabs that you took from the portal, the Damani Jacksons, even Deshaun Jones. You need the guys that are experienced, even if it wasn't at Alabama, to be out there to allow the younger guys to come along at a little bit slower pace. Now, you want to play those guys, you want to get their feet wet. But again, unless they're a wonderkind like Caleb Downs, who can come in and, from as a true freshman and play. But those guys don't grow on trees. Trust me. Minka Fitzpatrick's, I was watching him, sign autographs for Steelers fans this week. They don't grow on trees. You don't see guys with that kind of mindset or a Caleb Downs come down the pipe very often. So you want your experienced guys to be out there.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Drew DeArmond from Talking Ball joins us to start off this show, getting into everything Alabama, and that includes a little bit of Auburn. And we talk about the quarterbacks for the Crimson Tide. Now, let's talk about Peyton Thorne a little bit. Joe Hunk has some interesting words to describe Peyton Thorne. But, he's going over into a new program. Last year, of course, was not his year. He's had experience with so many good wide receivers. I mean, I talked about it. Jaden Reed, of course, Michigan State, Keon Coleman. Even Jeremy Bernard was on that Michigan State team at one point.
Yeah, people forget that 2 years ago. Yeah.
And now Peyton Thorne going into his senior year. He's got a lot of weapons. Talk about what you can see from Peyton Thorne this season if the things kind of fall into place.
Well, I mean, you look at Hugh Freeze and his time in his job that he did at Ole Miss, and of course he did a great job at Liberty as well. But Ole Miss in the SEC, so he's familiar with the conference. He had dynamic wide receivers. He knew you had to have how good you had to be at the skill spots, and even at tight end. Don't forget Evan Ingram. I know they're hoping Rivaldo Fairweather in his second year will make a kind of jump. Evan Ingram's still in the NFL. He was a dynamic weapon for the Ole Miss Rebels, but they're hoping that they have been able to transform this wide receiver core. They certainly did that at Ole Miss. Recruiting with NIL before NIL, as they had Laquan Treadwell and they had AJ Brown and they had DK Metcalf. They had some very dynamic players and Evan Ingram. They had outstanding talent, at the skill spots, no question about it. And I think when you look at that and you look at Auburn, they definitely with Keandre Lambert-Smith, who they were able to get out of the portal from Penn State, with Cam Coleman, Cam Coleman and Perry Uno Thompson, Malcolm Simmons, Bryce Kane. They all came from the high school class. But then don't forget, they got Keandre Lambert-Smith, Robert Lewis, and then the young man from Cal Berkeley as well. They were able to – Jackson, they were able to get all those guys from the portal. So they really, truly, as I said this morning on Talking Ball, if you look at Auburn's depth chart and how good they have a chance to be, they totally – transform their football team and their wide receiver core because they had to. They just did not get enough, explosive plays out of that group. And again, as I said, I think if you look at with Sam Jackson's late, addition and position change, because he was a starting quarterback at Cal against Auburn last year. Now he's a wide receiver.
Crazy.
But don't forget, the only guy returning that looks like he could be in the 2 deep and be in the rotation is Camden Brown. Yeah. Otherwise, the entire wide receiver core for Auburn is brand new. And that's what they needed because they just couldn't make enough explosive plays. Cam Coleman was the MVP of the A-Day game, looked amazing. He and to show you how deep the wide receiver class was, I just gave you 4 guys that Auburn got out of state last year. Ryan Williams is doing freakazoid things from what I'm hearing at Alabama, and he reclassified into that class. But think about it. I think when it was all said and done, you had 2 5-stars from the state of Alabama and 2 of probably the top 4 or 5 receivers in the country, and Ryan Williams and then Cam Coleman. Yeah. And so each side gets one of those guys, and Auburn gets 3 of the others. I don't know how involved Malcolm Simmons and Kane will be this year. I definitely believe Cam Coleman is going to be in the top 2 to 3, if not wide receiver 1. I definitely think Perry Uno Thompson, size, physicality, should be involved and be in the lineup at some point. I don't know about starting, but be in the rotation, because I think Keandre Lambert-Smith, I think Auburn definitely thinks he's going to be a starter. And I mean,
no doubt.
He was high profile coming out of Penn State, had a lot of suitors, USC, a lot of teams pursuing him hard. And then you've got Robert Lewis, who's kind of flown under the radar, but he was Georgia State's best receiver. And then who knows about Sam Jackson?
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't seen him play the position, but he's a great athlete. So this Auburn wide receiver core is going to be a lot different. And what Hugh Freeze and the Auburn staff have done, and we heard from Derek Nix, the OC, on Talking Ball this morning, is they've gone all in on Peyton Thorne. They really believe he's going to make that jump, get better, and that the wide receiver core and the return of Rivaldo Fairweather at tight end, with that production, and then the addition of left tackle Percy Lewis to kind of let all the pieces fall into place, and then Jarquez Hunter and Damari Alston coming back, even Jeremiah Cobb. Auburn feels like their skill guys are going to be much, much better this year.
No doubt about that. I've heard a lot of good things about this wide receiver core. And you bring over, a guy like Lambert-Smith from Penn State. He was the leading wide receiver for that squad, and a very high passing team like that. Nittany Lions. I mean, you right there already have a guy that could be wide receiver number one, but with Cam Coleman on that team, anything is possible. And on top of that, the running game shouldn't be too bad either.
No, Hugh Freeze said in Dallas, John, he was asked in the main media room, what do you think the strength of your offense is heading into fall camp? He said the running game. He felt like that the running game was going to be the best part of it right now. Hunter, had the legal issues last year, didn't start the year with the team. He's had a good offseason. He's back. Damari Alston also got hurt last year, and which forced Jeremiah Cobb into the lineup. But sometimes that experience will help you. And so Auburn feels like, I think that they have a good, three-headed monster at the tailback position, and their offensive line will be even better with Percy Lewis coming in from Mississippi State at left tackle and Dylan Wade sliding into left guard.
And we'll probably be talking a little bit more about this Auburn team, because the defense is a whole nother book that we can get into. But with Sam Jackson, it reminds me a lot of Terrell Pryor whenever he made the switch from quarterback to wide receiver. And hey, there were some exciting things about that switch, but at the end of the day,
yeah, because he was with the Browns, right?
Yeah, for the rest of that year, and then he was gone. But still, good stuff.
Hey, you guys are getting a new stadium. Yeah. It looks pretty good.
Yeah,
billions, it looks like,
not
John.
Not one, but $2.4 billion.
Oh, go a little higher.
Did the Czar did he? I know the Czar's been too busy with your brother buying a radio station, but did they help Jimmy Haslam out with that?
No, I at least haven't heard about it. But hey, maybe he'll talk about that new stadium today on the show, because he is back. Either way, good stuff from you, Drew. That was, of course, presented by McCurry Motors and Alumni Hall. We got to hop into a break, because when we get back, we're going to be talking a little bit about these preseason football games. And on top of that, a little bit more interesting, the Olympics U.S. men's basketball team. That's what's happening when we get back here on the Morning Blitz.
The state's largest orthopedic group is growing to meet the needs of the patients in our community. The Orthopedic Center has long been the most trusted name in orthopedics in North Alabama. So as our area continues on the fast track, so does the need for premier orthopedic care anywhere and anytime you need it. TOC is proud to announce the opening of our new locations in Albertville and Hampton Cove, along with the grand opening of our newest office in Decatur. These clinics will offer the same high-quality orthopedic care you have come to associate with TOC, with the convenience of being closer to home. As a patient, your time is your most precious asset, and we recognize that at TOC. That's why we are also proud to announce the opening of our urgent ortho clinics to handle those bumps and bruises that need prompt attention. These clinics are available to care for acute orthopedic injuries with no appointment necessary. With 38 physicians, 20 centers of excellence, and now more than a dozen locations to serve you, TOC will continue to be the name you turn to for the best orthopedic care at the right time. Visit our website at visittoc.com for more information. TOC, helping you live a better life.
Forgiveness. Wow, what a word. What a gift. All of us have done things in our lives that we regret. All of us have done things that are disobedient. All of us have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Thank God for his forgiveness. Thank God that he separates our sins as far as the east is from the west and remembers them no more. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor at Cross Point Church, smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison. Check us out at cpcfamily.org.
Tom Luganville here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Are you tired of power outages disrupting your life? It's time for a Generac standby generator from Current Electrical. Storms may rage outside, but inside your family's powered up. So why choose Current Electrical for your generator needs? 1, we offer a wide range of models to suit every budgeted energy requirement. 2, our project managers handle every step of the process: power, gas, permitting, and inspections. 3, our certified technicians install your generator with precision, ensuring peace of mind. Don't wait for the next blackout. Call 256-880-1880 or visit us online at jetsuperstore.com.
At Mr. Sparky, we're America's on-time electrician. Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying, but they can also signal a major problem, or worse, an electrical emergency. So play it safe and leave it to the experts at Mr. Sparky. Trust our team of professional, clean, and friendly electricians. We'll get it done right and get it done safely.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
Independently owned and operated, licensed in the respective state or county.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly sunny sky this afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the lower 90s, dropping into the mid and upper 60s as we head into the overnight, early into your Saturday morning. Going to be a fantastic weekend across the area. Mostly sunny sky Saturday afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 80s. It's also not going to be all that humid across the Tennessee Valley. That's going to be quite nice, making for a perfect Saturday. Now some of us could see the lower 90s, but that's still not bad when you consider the fact that it is early August. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. Listen weekday afternoons starting at 5 on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
It's perfect! Money Mojo Radio.
Man, you know there's another quarterback switch to wide receiver that we also just totally didn't bring up. We actually brought him up the other day and thought that he was still on the New England Patriots. That's Malik Cunningham. He's actually on the Baltimore Ravens now, and his new position's definitely going to be interesting for him to adjust to. But, hey, you know, we've seen it before.
We have seen it before.
Why can't we see it now? Either way, I know that you watched a little bit of that Olympics matchup.
A little, yeah. Oh, my God.
Talk about tense. I mean, just kind of break down that game a little bit, because you were definitely glued to your screen while I was just kind of like checking the updates on my watch. So what did we get out of that, and what can we look forward to?
For one, some of the best basketball we've seen, like Olympic basketball we've seen in a while. I mean, USA coming back from a 17-point deficit against Serbia. Really, that second half was so fun to watch, because you had Steph Curry coming in, like taking over the game, dropping 36 at the end of the day.
Yeah,
LeBron on the other side as well, who still at his age, when you see that man going full speed from the top of the key, like into the lane, and when he's coming full force at you, you just get out of the way.
Yeah, you don't
like you're not stopping him, and it's really kind of making me want like a Steph and LeBron team up in the NBA at some point, just to go up against the young talent going on right now, because they're working they're working so well off each other.
Yeah,
Joel Embiid played.
He did
have a good game.
Nice. I know you're not too happy about it, but nice.
Yeah.
I'm just glad America's winning, baby.
Yeah, I am too. He had a good game. And then that fourth quarter, when it really came down to it, Steph just really felt like he couldn't miss. It was like watching 2015, 2016 Steph again, back when he was winning those 2 MVPs. You had LeBron pretty much guarding Jokic the entire fourth quarter, just stepping up as a leader for that team. Kevin Durant coming off as well, and just slowly kind of building up that comeback. But what was fun about it too, it wasn't like they were down 17 and then they just go on a magical run to cut that lead in, and then they just take over the rest of the game. Like, Serbia was still in it all the way, off the backs of Bogdanovic. You had Jokic getting good looks. Like, they were still in the game, keeping it competitive. And then when it got down to the final 30 seconds, Kevin Durant at the top of the key, creates space, hits a dagger fadeaway with 30 seconds left to go. Oh, it felt great to watch.
It was a good game from what I saw. I didn't get to watch everything that was in it. I actually watched like the first two, I think, quarters. But it was one of those games where it's like, oh, this team's down. Like they're down big. And then you see, USA still have a little bit of momentum. And they were able to keep that momentum going. But again, it wasn't going to be just one of those things that you said, Bandy, where they could just take over the game and just like run with it there. Whenever it came down to it, I mean,
it was an arduous climb to get that 17-point lead, like just cut down. But I mean, Steph going 12 of 19 from the field, 9 of 14 from 3, 36 points. He had 8 rebounds, by the way.
This is the stuff we've been waiting for. We've just been like, oh yeah, he's there. He's playing decent basketball, but he's not going to be that guy that's going to show out over all of these other big names.
Yeah, he wasn't the assist maker in this game. He was the one.
He was the maker.
He was the one giving the assist to other people.
He was the maker. Either way, talking about a little bit less interesting things to certain people, because Bandy, I still find a lot of fun in watching, preseason football. You get to see all these names that you might recognize from college football. You might recognize from playing a little bit of Madden.
Yep.
And one of those guys did show up whenever I was actually watching. I believe it was the Lions game? This is the bad part about it is you don't really remember. It was Eric Gray. Okay. He used to play for Tennessee, played for South Carolina. He was drafted in like 2021, 2022 or something like that. I never knew this guy actually existed. I thought he was a fake player for a little bit when I used to play Madden, and he was my backup running back behind Nick Chubb. But Eric Gray was on my team. You see what he was able to do yesterday? He's a small guy. He's probably not going to actually start. He's not going to take a snap in the NFL. But seeing him play was a lot of fun. Very speedy back. Whenever he's able to get past that first line, he could go. All right. So he yesterday had a wonderful game. 2 touchdowns on 4 carries. Only 52 yards.
I was thinking the same way
stuff.
I was thinking that same way about a different player though, like not the Detroit Lions game, but actually heading over to New England and Carolina.
Go for it.
The other day, like watching Joe Milton take a couple snaps.
Oh yeah, I had a lot of fun with that guy. Let me tell you, I see the way that he plays in the pocket. I do think he's got a little bit of that Jalen Milroe situation going on, where he will run as soon as anything's going on. But at the same time, he's so comfortable in the backfield, getting away from guys, being able to feel the presence of 2, defensive ends just getting ready to just destroy him. He's able to move out of the way. He's able to cross up. He's able to get the fans going. And I think his play was actually the reason why, and again, it doesn't matter who wins, but that this team was able to get that momentum to win this game. He only had 1 touchdown. But at the same time,
it was the only touchdown.
Yeah, it was the only touchdown. That's all that really mattered at the end of it. When it came to the quarterback position, the Drake May looked fine. He was in there for 2 seconds. He was 2 for 3, 19 yards. You can't really go off of anything with those guys. Jacoby Brissett was in there, Bailey Zappi. And then, where's the running backs? Yeah, you don't really get to see too many. You get to see everybody and nobody at the same time. And I wasn't too much of a fan. For the Panthers, probably the team that I didn't want to watch the most, just because we got to see a plumber at quarterback, and then we got to see Jake Luton. Who are we talking about right now?
Hey, it went 7 for 9, though.
The Panthers need a lot of help, all right? Put out some of the guys that are actually going to be playing in the season, because those are the guys that need to get ready to play for this season. The Giants versus the Lions, on the other hand, Tommy DeVito was actually second behind Drew Lock. Holy cow, what are we even thinking? Tommy DeVito comes out there, and he's throwing dots right out the gates. The way that he has the touch on his pass right to these dudes. Everybody was getting a little ball, except for, one dude, Malik Neighbors. He didn't get anything. Jalen Hyatt even had a reception. Didn't go for anything, but he was there. Eric Gray was the dump off guy. I mean, he was the guy that probably had the most success. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching the preseason football yesterday. It was good to go back and forth. They were small. They were short scoring games, low scoring games because of the rain. And we can look forward to even more NFL football. And I'm very much looking forward to it. I don't care. Today, we got the Falcons and the Dolphins. Exciting stuff. We got the Ravens and the Eagles. Exhilarating. We got the Texans versus the Steelers. I'll throw up in a bag, and it'll be just as entertaining.
It's exciting to see the Falcons take the field again.
Yeah.
Not so exciting news coming out of that camp, though.
What do you got?
Rondale Moore going to the IR for a season-ending knee injury. That's a big hit to Atlanta.
Jeez. Well, hopefully they don't take too many more of those big losses, I would say. I'm excited to see what this team's got to offer. I've seen Kirk Cousins. I've seen Kyle Pitts. I've seen the rest of this QB room. They're looking better. They're looking like they're going to be just a little bit better. And who knows? Kirk Cousins might be able to blow things open and be a spectacular quarterback for this team the same way he was for the Minnesota Vikings. But we'll have a little bit of time until we see that because Kirk Cousins is one of those guys that's not going to start in the preseason. So look forward to that, though. 3 preseason games to look forward to and a little bit more. We got to hop into a break. When we get back, got a brand new guest for you guys. Somebody we've been trying to get on for a few days now, maybe even a few weeks. It's George Somerville from the College Chaps podcast. So don't go anywhere because you're listening to the most energetic show here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. You're listening to The Morning Blitz.
The company is Eagle Masonry and Insulation, but did you know they're also Eagle Landscaping and Dirt Work? Eagle can take care of all your landscaping needs, including irrigation, sod work, and planting, both plants and trees. On the dirt work side, Eagle can grade and build your pads, haul dirt in or out, and even do erosion control. Philip Love and his team can do it all for you. The website is the same, insulatewitheagle.com, as is the phone number, 256-755-1556. Give them a call and see what Eagle can do for you. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Chapman Commercial Realty, your source for Alabama commercial real estate. Chapman Commercial Realty has the experience and expertise you're looking for when making commercial real estate decisions. If it's office space, retail space, investment property, or project development, Chapman Commercial Realty is your answer. Call Bill Chapman today at 256-656-8413. That's 256-656-8413. Or find them online at ChapmanCommercialRealty.com.
Looking for your next game day party destination? Well, think outside the box and kick back at Flosa Premier. And you may be thinking, isn't that the trampoline place? Of course it is. But it's also the one-stop spot for all things fun. And if kicking back with the boys to watch the game is your jam, then you're in the right spot. Jump or not, Flo tends to all ages, meaning while you sit back and watch the game, but little Jimmy's having the time of his life perfecting that front flip he most definitely wants to show you. You got this, Jimmy. So next time you think Flo, think fun for everyone.
College football.
The ball is caught. It is a touchdown.
Major League Baseball.
That ball is gone. A home run.
This is your place for complete sports coverage all year long. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Hello and welcome back into the Morning Blitz. John Abraham, Captain Cool, alongside the Bandiman, Bailey Lowery. We've been having a lot of fun on this fun Friday in No Man's Land, as we do. But it's time to get into some more interesting conversations with a good friend of mine that I actually talked to. I got to meet him at SEC Media Days. We really bonded over the intricacies of Globe Life Stadium, how that roof goes over and all of that stuff. Texas Rangers, definitely an interesting bunch. And, you know, I wanted to get him on the show. We tried to get him on the show before. It didn't work out the way we wanted to, because if we got him on during our live show, would have been 3 o'clock his time. So we're going to make some things happen. We're going to make some magic work. And we finally can get George Somerville on from the Touchdown NFL and the College Chaps podcast. George, how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing fine, John. Thank you. I do appreciate you accommodating my time zone because, as you know, I'm in the UK and joining you guys live would be the middle of the night for me. So I do appreciate that. But I'm doing pretty well, thank you.
Well, I mean, what we could have done is we're doing it the best way we can possible, honestly. But you say you're in the UK. You're actually our first guest from outside of the country that we get to talk to. And I kind of want to know, we talked a little bit of SEC. We talked some NFL. We talked about some stadiums. Talk about how you got into college football and just American football in the first place, because it's definitely not every day you get to talk to a guy from a different country that makes it his living,
Oh, yeah, I think that's true. And I think I'm realizing that the more people I speak to, and of course, there's a lot of interest in this country. So it's not unusual for someone to be chatting about American football, but I do get it from your perspective. I mean, I guess my introduction to the game is like most people who are outside of the US, and that's visiting there on vacation. And the first game I got to was while I was on vacation in San Diego, and the Chargers were still in town at that point.
Oh, yeah.
And my love for the game grew from there. Prior to that, I'd gone to baseball games and stuff like that. Not quite the same atmosphere as a football game. And I'll be honest, the concept of college football is alien in this country, right? I mean, people don't go and watch. There are college sports. There's a university league. I played university soccer,
yeah.
But people don't go and watch it. It's a social thing. You go, you play your game, you go to the pub afterwards. There's no spectator sport.
Yeah.
And while I was on vacation, and I've been very fortunate to travel to the US a lot, you would see games on TV, and this whole concept of 100,000 people watching college football just blows your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you get into it, the more you start to realise about the tradition and the rivalries and just the passion and the spectacle of watching college football. And the first college football game I got to was actually in the Superdome, believe it or not, and it was post Katrina. I mean, quite some years after Katrina, but Tulane were still playing in the Superdome at that point. And I really wanted to go and see the Superdome, to be perfectly honest. But once I was inside, just to get the community spirit and all of that kind of stuff was pretty cool. But it wasn't until I came back to the States in 2019 and I was in Tuscaloosa. No, sorry, that's not true. 2015 was my first time in Tuscaloosa. And Alabama played Ole Miss in Bryant-Denny. And that was just the atmosphere that I'd never appreciated that before, right? I mean, that was just quite the atmosphere. And at that point, I was hooked, to be honest. So I've never looked back since then. I got across in 2019, saw some more games, and just the passion of it after that point. I thought, right, I want to write about this. So that's kind of started my journey.
I know that's incredible, and it's kind of a rare opportunity we get to ask a question like this. But I am, with being over in the UK and how big soccer is over there as well, and the rivalries between clubs and the Premier League and how cutthroat promotion stuff can get. Is there a similarity you're seeing when you've come over to the States and watch these college football games with that kind of rivalry energy? Like, is there kind of a similarity you've seen with like a college football rivalry and then rivalries between football clubs?
Yeah, it translates really well, and I think that's why the growth of college football in this country is really quite pronounced now. I mentioned that when I joined the call that I'm Scottish. I lived in London for 10 years, but since this year I've since moved back. And I come from Glasgow, and Glasgow got a very well-known soccer rivalry, Rangers Celtic. And if you know anything about that, it's deemed to be one of the most heated rivalries in all of soccer. So growing up, you're either, it's a bit like the Iron Bowl, right? You're either Rangers or Celtic. You can't be both.
Yeah.
And growing up, going to the games and understanding the atmosphere where you actually can't hear yourself speak inside the stadium. When I came across to Tuscaloosa 2019, the game I got to see was the Alabama LSU game.
Oh my God!
You know, that kind of famous, Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, and all the other stars, all the guys who have now gone into to star in the NFL.
Yeah.
And that was the time that I thought, wow, this is, and I was in the so-called cheap seats, right? I was in the gods. I was touching the moon up there, right? But the noise was just incredible. Yeah. I mean, what an amazing atmosphere to be involved in. And I've been to other games. Appreciate that's a bit of a one-off. I've been to other games, which I've been to Samford to see Georgia. I've been to Ole Miss, and the atmosphere in these places is just fantastic. And again, it's just the passion of the fans who are inside that. They're deeply rooted in their fandom for their team.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And I had to say, because I remember us whenever we were looking over Globe Life Stadium and how really, grand it was. I talked about how, I wouldn't care to be at the top of the stadium. You get a really good view of everything going on. And plus, there's so many different Megatrons that are going on as well that you get to really see all the action anyway. But that's just some great stories from you, George Somerville, joining us, of course, from Touchdown NFL and the College Chaps. Now, the NFL has kind of been going international for a couple of years. I would say around a decade, a little bit over a decade now. And college football has also been doing a similar thing, but with one game. This year, I heard you're actually going to be at this event, Florida State versus Georgia Tech. Kind of just talk about the atmosphere over there in Dublin, about how the fans really show up and the amount of similarities that you get to see compared to the States.
Well, you're right. NFL's probably been in this country for nearly 30 years now, and the demand just keeps on growing and growing and growing. But what we've seen, certainly since the pandemic, is the growth of the demand for college football. But it's huge, and that's the benefit of, the podcast has become popular on the back of that. The College Football Classic in Ireland has been going for quite some time now. It was interrupted for a few years, and certainly Notre Dame were due to come across in 2020 for the game, which was postponed due to the pandemic.
Yeah.
We're now kind of back up and running, and Florida State and Georgia Tech coming. And what's going to be interesting this year is, Florida State and Georgia Tech set of fans are the closest that we've had to SEC world, right?
Yeah.
It's no great surprise when Notre Dame come across. The whole Irish thing just works for them really well, and some of the scenes last year for the Navy game were just phenomenal. The fans marching through the city centre. Just crazy, incredible scenes. But today our call is timely because they've just announced the game as a sellout, which is awesome. Also, it's a big, and really why Ireland gets the game is it was set up to entice football fans back to Ireland, those that have got Irish roots. So they typically expect somewhere around 30,000 fans coming across from the States. When Notre Dame came across last year, geez, wow, that was something else.
I don't doubt
it was probably closer to 50,000. So the scenes are pretty impressive. But in media days, I asked the LSU head coach Brian Kelly, because it's been rumoured that LSU are talking about coming across, and he confirmed that. He came across with Notre Dame in 2010, and he would love to come back. And we've spoken to Greg Sankey on our podcast, and he also confirmed that SEC teams are looking, are inquiring, are interested to come across and play in the game, which I think for me would just raise it to another level, to be honest.
Yeah, just getting some of the best in college football inside of Dublin. That would be a wonderful thing. And now, kind of getting into a little bit more of just SEC, just normal SEC talk. I want to look at a few of these teams down this list. Of course, we talk a lot about Tennessee. We talk about Alabama, Georgia. We're going down the list, and we got a lot of fun, interesting schedules. Are there going to be teams that are, 2 times, 3 times better than they were last year that are going to end up having, similar records just due to having the extra competition with Texas coming in, obviously Oklahoma, and just having those tough schedules like Florida's, that is just absolutely brutal.
Well, doesn't everybody laugh? Sorry, maybe laugh's the wrong way to look at it, but laugh in amazement at how tough the Florida schedule is. I mean, wow. I mean, for a head coach who's under a bit of pressure, and Billy Napier really needs to pull something out the hat this year. That's a schedule that's not going to be favourable to him, and I'm just writing something about that just now. But yeah, to your point, John, I think there's two things happening with the schedules this year. You've got the introduction of Texas and Oklahoma, but you've also got the whole shake-up because there's no East-West division. Right?
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of games that aren't ordinarily on your schedule. And one of the things, didn't really get the opportunity in media days to ask this question, but one of the things that's kind of piqued my interest is how have teams gone about their preparation for this season? Because you don't necessarily, Alabama, for example, don't necessarily have the typical games that they would have in their schedule.
Yeah.
Plus, there's a lot of teams in the SEC who have changed head coaches this year, right? So there's quite a lot going on this season, plus the 12-team playoff. So this season's got the ability to be unprecedented in terms of the, let me just use the word craziness that's likely to happen. But I think. I saw some stuff on social media today about the over/under on Alabama. Can they get 10 games this season? I mean, that's a given for any Alabama team, but this year's very different for them. The schedule, I don't think, is particularly favourable. Kalen DeBoer, as wonderful head coach as he is still improving in the SEC. I don't know about you, but I really liked what I heard from DeBoer in Dallas. He came across as a very confident, but pretty low-key individual, right? So the interesting one for me is Tennessee. I think Josh Heupel, I wouldn't say he's under pressure. Well, every Tennessee head coach is under pressure, right? I mean, you're only two losses away from chaos and crisis in Knoxville, but Tennessee is going to be an interesting one. I think that's an interesting schedule for them this year. I just think any team that's going to face Texas this year is going to be a really interesting period because I'm not entirely sure what we're going to get with Texas. I know a lot of people saying that Texas could run the table. I know they were voted by the media writers that they would get to the game. I think even get to the SEC championship game. Even Nick Saban said that he thought they would get to the SEC championship game, but you just look at what's happened this week. CJ Baxter's got an injury.
Yep.
Now we just have to see how teams cope with adversity. So I think it's going to be a hugely interesting year. I mean, it's going to be a fascinating and exciting year to be watching SEC football.
George, you said it. I mean, it started 2 years ago with all this. Well, a few years ago with all this NIL stuff, and then it's just kind of been on a trajectory to just have the wackiest offseason going into the season, and now it is finally time when we get into the actual football, and I'm so excited for it. And on top of, what you were talking about, about the different coaches, the different schedules, on top of all of that, you got to worry about the transfer portal. Some of these kids probably won't be on your team next year. You got to think about that. And it's kind of hard to judge where these kids are going to be going.
It's crazy, right? I can't believe I've talked for 10 minutes now, even mentioned Ole Miss, right?
Yeah.
So, this year, I don't know how coaches. There's a little bit of a theme came out of media days, right? I don't know how coaches really manage that situation because, as you rightly point out, I mean, rosters are getting bigger. So you're going to have a bigger rosters. You're going to have more scholarships, players who are going to come in, want to play immediately. They don't get a game immediately, then they enter the transfer portal. I mean, that's a lot of juggling for a head coach. I don't know how they're going to be able to cope with that. I certainly wouldn't want to be doing that job.
Yeah, and that's why we see a lot of the older coaches getting out of the game. It's not like it used to be, but at the end of the day, it's still college football, and we can't get enough of it.
Absolutely, it's just the most. Who was it? Somebody said at media days. It might be Hugh Freeze. It's the the most amazing game in the world, and he was absolutely spot on. It's just the best game in the world.
Yeah, does not change a thing. Whenever everything might be falling apart in some people's minds, to us college football fans that have been watching it for all our lives, or who've just delved into it and are pretty much full blown college fans now. I mean, it doesn't matter. We're pumping the blood of college football in our veins. But good stuff from you, George. It was wonderful to have you on. Let the people know where they can find you on socials and online.
Well, I really appreciate you having me on. It's very kind of you. I guess most people know me through the College Chaps podcast, so you can find us on Apple Podcasts and probably any other podcast provider. We've also just started putting our pods up on YouTube, and then my written work is through the Touchdown, and so you can find the Touchdown at touchdownNFL.co.uk, I think, but you can find them on X and Instagram, and you can find me on X and Instagram at Geo Somerville. So if you want to follow this crazy ride, then please give me a follow.
No doubt about that. George, we got a lot of fun stuff to talk with you about in the future. The NFL is definitely going to be one of them. Can't wait to get you on again, man. You take it easy.
I really appreciate it, John. Thank you. And it was nice to meet you in Dallas also.
Oh, yeah. Wonderful time. We're going to head into a break. When we get back, we're going to close out this episode of the Morning Blitz. So don't go anywhere, because you're listening to 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Hi, this is Wes Neighbors. I'm here with Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Sam, tell the folks about Fleming Roofing and Restoration.
Hey, Wes. Our company, Fleming Roofing and Restoration, specializes in commercial and residential roofing and repairs. I'm a fifth-generation Huntsvillian, and our family's been doing construction business in Huntsville area since 1965.
Sam, what kind of roofs does Fleming Roofing and Restoration do?
Our guys are skilled enough. We can come out and address any kind of leaks or issues you might have on your commercial, on your metal roofing, on your shingles. We can do anything, and we can offer you a solution to repair it, or we can replace it.
Well, you guys also do insurance restoration.
Our staff has 10 plus years of experience as insurance adjusters, and we really do know the inside and out of the claims process at Fleming Roofing and Restoration.
Check out Fleming Roofing and Restoration online at FlemingHSV.com, or you can call or text them at 256-651-9440.
Hey, Wes, we show up.
Looking for your next adventure to be out of this world but don't have enough money to buy a spaceship and leave orbit? Well, look no further than Divergence VR theme park off of Governor's Drive Southwest in Huntsville, Alabama. Are zombies more your style? How about driving your favorite cars on the world's fastest track? Or maybe a gorilla game that has you climbing up tall trees to escape other gorillas? Wait, that's actually a thing? Huh. Would you look at that? For whatever adventure you can dream of, call 256-203-4128 to get your VR adventure started now.
Hello and welcome back into the Morning Blitz. John Abraham, Captain Cool, alongside the Bandiman, Bailey Lowery. The show has been presented by the wonderful people over at Fleming Roofing Restoration, the guys you need to talk to about all of your roofing needs. If you're having any roofing problems, make sure you look them up online at FlemingHSV.com to fill out your free quote today. And remember that Fleming always shows up. We got about a minute, 2 minutes to get out of here, but I will let you know what we're doing this weekend. Bandy and I are actually going to go to Nashville, all right? Because we love to suffer and watch some preseason football. I mean, geez, like why do we got to do this? I don't want to do this. I really want to do this. It's going to be so fun.
Why do we got to do this to ourselves? Like, it does sound really fun, though.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun. And maybe we'll see Joe Hunk from 104.5 The Zone over there. That would be a fun way to end off the night. Just go out, have some drinks with him down in Nashville, and then get the heck back home, because we got to re-up for the upcoming week. Of course, we're getting closer and closer to football season, and that means also high school football at that. And make sure you guys download the ESPN app that we got, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone, on Apple and Android smartphones. You guys will be able to listen to every single one of the high school matchups that we host on our station and on Talk Radio WZZN. That means Madison Academy, Randolph, Buckhorn, Sparkman, Huntsville. The list goes on. And I actually got to get out there to harvest to watch my Sparkman Senators practice a little bit. I'll be back out there today, well, actually tonight, for a little bit of a scrimmage. But holy cow, it's that time of year again, Bandy. It's that time of year. I'm loving what I'm seeing from Coach Ronnie Watson's football team. Jaden Scott's going to be leading that team to victory, and we got an interesting dual threat quarterback in him. On top of that, Jabari Davis, absolute unit at the running back position. He's the bowling ball. If you remember last year, you listened to the game, he was number 28. This year, he's going to be number 1. And then you can't go without talking about Jamarion Matthews. Man's getting college things like left and right, letters all over the place. The kid's huge. I can understand why. For me and the Bandiman, we'll see you guys on Monday. Thank you for joining the Morning Blitz.
It's time to get ready for game day. That means Alabama football and tailgate. Whether you're tailgating at home or at Bryant-Denny, visit Brooks & Collier for North Alabama's largest selection of premium grills and smokers like Big Green Egg, Blaze, Delta Heat, Memphis, and Traeger. Satisfy any palate with our wall of rubs and seasonings for all your tailgating